What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Sloppy Saturdays. And today we have a fun style video for you guys that I just completely made up off the top of my head like 10 minutes ago. We are going over the top 25 coaches poll and figuring out when each of these top 25 teams are receiving their first loss in the college football season. Now, I do have a little bit of an asterisk to go with it. Like, there are about 5 teams where I honestly thought they were going to win every game on their schedule. But for every team, I wanted to choose one game that they were going to lose. So when those teams come up, I'm going to say, hey, like I really don't think they're going to lose this game. But if I were to see them lose a game, this is where I was going to see them to lose it. Now, again, I don't really expect any teams to go undefeated, maybe one or two teams. I have like 5 or 6 where I just couldn't decide. So I'm going to go over that. But we're going to go over each team, like I said, where they're going to receive their first loss and a little line or two why I picked it. Now, at number 25, we have Boise State. We have them receiving their first loss at week 5 against Notre Dame. There is no doubt Notre Dame is by far the hardest game on their schedule. When we looked at Boise State last year, they were competitive in every one of their regular season games, even their game early against Oregon. But they had a guy named Ashton Genty where they could just hand the rock to and keep them in games. They don't have that this year. They don't have a top 3 player in the country, but I do expect Boise State to be really good this year. But week 5 against Notre Dame, I expect Notre Dame to just be in a different class than them, and I expect Notre Dame to just run it down Boise State's throat. I don't see them getting out of that game. Number 25, Boise State. At number 24, we have Texas Tech. We have them receiving their first loss week 7 against Arizona State. We say it time and time again, the Big 12 is such a good opportunity for these teams. If you put a lot into your team, a lot in the offseason, the Big 12 serves a lot of opportunity on their schedule. We have them losing their first game in week 7 at Arizona State. I think Arizona State is the best team in the Big 12. We have said it time and time again. And the better team away, I think this is when they receive their first loss. Again, it could be earlier. If you're a Texas Tech fan and you're 6-0 going into that game, you are definitely pretty happy. Even again, if you receive a loss 6-1 is not a bad start. That's what we have for that. At number 23, we have BYU. I'm very surprised I chose week 7 as their first loss, but we have week 7 against Utah. I think Utah's going to be a better team than them this year. Again, if they didn't lose Jake Retzloff, I may have a different opinion, but I really like what Utah did post Cam Rising error. I really like what they did in the transfer portal. I think their RPO game is going to be a little too much for BYU, and they're going to just outscore them. At number 22, we have Iowa State. We have them losing week 0 against Kansas State. Everybody knows how high I am on Kansas State, how high I am on Avery Johnson. I think Kansas State is going to be the better team. I think Kansas State got better. I think Iowa State got worse. And I think Kansas State is going to really show in week 0 why they're going to be one of the best teams in the country this year. At number 21, we have Texas A&M. We have them losing week 3 at Notre Dame. Now, again, Notre Dame is going to be one of the best teams in the country. This is definitely one of the toughest games for Texas A&M. They're playing at Notre Dame, which makes this game extremely tough. Two teams that are very similar. I expect this to be a low-scoring game, a game where we're going to see a lot of running and a lot of a defensive battle, but I expect Notre Dame to win that game. At number 20, we have Kansas State. We have them losing at Baylor in week 6. This was what I thought was one of the tougher games on their schedule. When you look at the first 5 weeks, I see Kansas State really skating by if they get past Iowa State, like I believe they will. And Baylor's going to be one of the tougher teams in the Big 12. They're away. This is just what I chose. Again, I don't really fully believe it. I think Kansas State is going to be a favorite in every one of their games. I believe they could win every one of their games, but I had to choose one. I chose at Baylor. At number 19, we have Indiana. We have week 4 versus Illinois. That's why I think they're getting their first loss. Even though they are home, I think Illinois is the better team this year. I think Illinois has a little bit of a better defense. I trust Luke Altmaier a little more than I trust Fernando Mendoza, even though I'm not as high on the public as both those quarterbacks. I think it's going to be a huge game for both of these teams in the Big Ten because these are games that for both these teams have a lot of opportunity on their schedule. Two of the better teams in the Big Ten, but again, not like national championship contenders. And these are two teams that one loss, especially this game, could really decide whether they get into the college football playoffs. I think it's going to be a tremendous game, even though it is early. That's going to impact one of these teams' seasons very positively and one of them very negatively. Both teams can't afford to lose, but that's what I have Indiana losing versus Illinois. Number 18, Tennessee. We have week 3 versus Georgia. Again, this is going to be one of the toughest games on their matchup against possibly the best defensive team in all of college football and a team in Tennessee that I don't know what their offensive identity is going to be. We don't even know who's starting for Tennessee yet. An offense run by Dylan Sampson last year, the running back, the engine of offense. He's not going to be there. Again, late turnover with Nico Iamaleava. He's not going to be there. I don't think they're going to get it done against this Georgia defense. That's their first loss. Number 17, Florida. We have week 3 at LSU. Again, you're going to see in the next like 6, we have LSU handing a lot of losses. I don't think Florida is going to be able to win week 3 at LSU. I think LSU, again, at LSU is the better team. But not only that, I think LSU is one of the most explosive offenses in college football. I think they're an all-around better team than Florida. But not only that, you're looking at one of their toughest matchups in week 3 when we're seeing DJ Lagway might not even be fully healthy early in the season. I think they get a loss here. At number 16, we had SMU. We have them losing week 8 at Clemson. I don't expect SMU to be as good as they were last year, but that might not show in the schedule. Like, their schedule has a lot of opportunity. That game was very close between them and Clemson for the ACC championship. I don't expect it to be nearly as close. I think Clemson got a lot better. And again, you have a lot of elite players going into their last year, where SMU, I think, did get worse. I expect that game to be a much widespread game. I expect Clemson to absolutely blow them out. For number 15, we have Ole Miss losing in week 5 versus LSU. Now, again, they are home, but this is an early game for Austin Simmons and company, and I think LSU's offense is going to be too explosive. I expect this game to definitely be a shootout, but I expect LSU to win that one. For number 14, Michigan, we have week 2 at Oklahoma. We definitely did an in-depth preview on Oklahoma, and we talked about Oklahoma has a very tough schedule, but this is a game I think they should definitely take care of. When you look at Bryce Underwood facing his first true test in week 2, an SEC matchup, and he's away, I don't expect Michigan to get out of that. At number 13, we have South Carolina losing week 6 at LSU. This was one of the best games last year. This game was at South Carolina last year. Now it's at LSU. LSU did come away with it last year. I expect them to come away with it again. LSU is the better team, and they're going to be at home. I don't know if South Carolina has enough on offense, even though they do have one of the best quarterbacks in the country, one of the most exciting quarterbacks in the country in Lenore Sellers. I expect LSU to really put on a high-scoring showing and beat South Carolina. At number 12, we have Illinois. We have them week 7 versus Ohio State again. This is going to be by far their toughest matchup of their whole schedule. I think Ohio State is in a separate class than Illinois. Can it be a close game? Big Ten matchup. 2 really good defenses. Luke Altmaier is a very good quarterback. Maybe they could play a competitive game, very similar to Ohio State and Nebraska last year. But again, Ohio State just has way more talent. I expect Ohio State to win that game. At number 11, we have Arizona State. Again, another team this is a team I actually do expect to go undefeated. I really do think they could. Not that I expect them to go undefeated. I don't want to say that, but I think they could go undefeated. I couldn't pick a loss, but I picked week 9 at Iowa State again. They have a lot of easy matchups coming up to week 9. This was a rematch of the Big 12 championship. They are away. One of their toughest matchups. That's just the one I chose again. Do I really fully believe it? No, but this was the one I chose. Number 10, Miami. We have them losing week 1 versus Notre Dame. This is going to be a very tough week 1 matchup for both teams, but for Miami, an offense with a ton of turnover, and Notre Dame, a team with identity. Not only do I expect Notre Dame to be a better team than Miami, like I said, Miami to have this turnover, playing one of the top defenses in the country, and an offense that they know what they're going to do. They have one of the best players in the country in Jeremiah Smith to produce offense for them. Probably the toughest game in Miami's schedule. That's the one I have them losing. At number 9, we have LSU losing week 1 versus Clemson. I forgot what I chose originally. We did a week 1 video a while back. I might have chose LSU on the spread, but I do think Clemson is going to win this game again. I think Clemson has the far better defense than LSU. I think they definitely have enough on their offense as well. We're possibly talking about 2 of the most explosive offenses in the country. I think this is LSU's toughest matchup by far because it comes in week 1. I expect Clemson to win that game. At number 8, Alabama, we have week 8 at South Carolina. This is a little bit of a surprising one. I don't know why. I looked at the schedule and I just assume upset. Again, it should be a short line, but this is one I just like. South Carolina upset spot. Out South Carolina, I expect that place to be rocking. SEC matchup, it could be a game day matchup. And Lenore Sellers could cause fits for Kalen DeBoer's defense. Again, you're looking at a guy that's ultra talented. I don't know why. I just chose that one. I just felt it, gut feeling. 7, Oregon. This was a very easy first Oregon loss. We have them at Penn State. It's going to be a whiteout game. Oregon got worse. Penn State got better. Easy one for me. 6, Clemson. We have week 12 at South Carolina again. We have South Carolina causing 2 upsets. Clemson was really tough, though, because I couldn't choose Clemson to lose against LSU week 1 after I just said they were going to beat LSU. So I chose South Carolina, the second toughest matchup in their schedule, and they're away. I mean, if Clemson's undefeated, South Carolina might have a lot to play for that game. Maybe South Carolina just outplays them. At number 5, we have Notre Dame, Week 2 versus Texas A&M. They are home in this game, but this is going to be a very tough matchup. Um, for Texas A&M, like this is going to be one of the toughest matchups on their schedule. It's a very hard defense to play, and for Notre Dame, who again is just going to get their offense working out, 2 tough matchups in a row. I think they dropped this game. Number 4, Georgia. We have them Week 4 versus Alabama. Alabama beat Georgia last year when I thought Georgia was definitely the better team. I expect Alabama to win again. I like Alabama's offense a little more. They have a little more on offense. I think the defenses are very comparable. I expect Ty Simpson to get this win against Georgia. At number 3, we have Week 8 against Ohio State, losing for Penn State. Again, I expect Penn State to go undefeated in their regular season, but if they were to lose a game, again, knowing James Franklin and Penn State, it would be at Ohio State, their toughest matchup. At number 2, Ohio State, we have them losing Week 1 versus Texas. Now, we haven't really got into this game in depth, but I think Texas is going to win Week 1 against Ohio State. With everything that Arch Manning is hearing throughout this whole entire offseason, for him to have this matchup against the national champion Ohio State Buckeyes, like he could really set the tone for his college football season. He could really tone down the hate on his name, really take the name off his back and prove why he is the player, not just running off his last name. Again, I think Ohio State and Texas are 2 very even teams. I think it's going to be a lot for Julian Sain, who, again, never started a game in college football, to step in against Texas, one of the best defenses in the country. And I think Texas has enough on offense to really get past Ohio State as well. Even though Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore aren't as good as the receiving core of Jeremiah Smith and Cardinal Tate, I think they're a damn good duo. And I think the running backs and Baxter and Cadravion Wisner are a little better than Ohio State. Again, I think the defenses are comparable. But again, I think this is going to be Arch Manning's time in Week 1 against the national champions to really prove that he is that guy. So I'm going Texas to win against Ohio State in that game. And again, for Texas, I had to pick a game. I do expect them to go undefeated in the regular season as well. But I chose at Georgia. Again, if Texas was going to lose a game and it wasn't going to be that Ohio State game, they're going to lose at Georgia. Kirby Smart against, a young first-year starting quarterback. That's the game I could see them losing. That wraps up everybody's first losses in the top 25. Again, like I said, for some of these teams, I do predict them to go undefeated, but I had to pick a loss. That wraps up this episode of Sloppy Saturdays, and we